Hi everyone, it's Dr. Ashley again with childcare centers opening starting June 1st. A lot of people have been asking questions about what to do with their kids. Should they go back? Should they stay home? How do they make this decision? And I was asked to do another video on that. So this is being recorded on Friday afternoon, 5:29. And I say that because all the information is changing pretty frequently. So this may not be the most up-to-date information when you watch this, so just keep that in mind. As of right now, a big thing to remember is that a lot of our child care centers have been open for essential workers throughout this, so it's not like everything's going to be brand new on June 1. The centers that have been open have been working hard with each other and the Department of Health to make sure they're being as safe as possible for both the children there and their families in our community. So we have a lot of good information on how to make things work and how to keep things as safe as possible. That being said, the decision to send your kids back to daycare is really a personal decision. So as a family, you need to think about who else you're exposed to. So if you have the option to stay home and you are routinely seeing elderly parents, grandparents, or people that are immunocompromised, obviously the safest thing is to stay home and still stay in pretty significant social isolation. If you are a young family, everybody's pretty healthy, people need to go back to work, the child care centers are doing the best they can to keep your kids safe. And we'll talk a little bit about that more in a second. So I do think it's a safe opportunity to send our kids back. And some kids just need that socialization. They need the developmental play that they do with their friends. They need the structure of childcare. So even if you don't have to go back to work, but you're not really exposed to immunocompromised or the elderly, it's completely fair to send your kids back to daycare in their schools. So one of the other questions I've heard is, well, what happens if I lose my spot at childcare? Well, you could still pay and not send your kid. Maybe you'd be saving money not driving. It's hard to figure that out. So that's something that every family needs to balance on their own. Okay, so let's assume that for whatever reason, your child is going to go back to daycare starting next week or in a couple weeks. What are the things that you want to make sure your daycare is doing? So the first thing I would ask your daycare is, are the adults going to be wearing masks? So the information that's coming out right now is really the transmission of the coronavirus to kids is adults to kids. It's not kids to adults, which is very unusual because most of our viruses and diseases, our kids are little petri dishes, as you know, and they pass it to us. But in this case, it really is seeming like the adults are passing it to kids. So the positive cases in kids have all been related to an adult contact. So really important for your child care providers to be wearing a mask to help protect your kids. So that's the first question. The second question, oh, and I'm sorry, I'm supposed to call them cloth face coverings, not masks. So child care providers should be wearing cloth face coverings. The second question you want to know is, what's the procedure when kids and families get to the daycare center? So ideally, families would be encouraged to have the same person drop off the child every day. That will decrease the number of contacts. And obviously, the person should not be sick, and the child should not be sick. And hopefully your daycare, if it's large, will be doing staggered arrivals. So that means, not everybody shows up at 8 o'clock because they have to be to work at 9. So that would be one thing to think about. And then the other part that is an absolute must is that there needs to be a plan in place for when children arrive, that they're screened for any signs of illness, both in questions and with temperature. So preferably one of the temporal thermometers or forehead non-touch thermometers. And then that information is recorded daily. And then the next step would be that there's a hand washing station right at the entrance. So the first thing the kids do after they're screened is wash their hands. So that to me is an absolute must. If those aren't happening, then I would feel much less comfortable sending my kid to childcare and would only do it on an absolutely have to, or find a childcare that is following that protocol. So once all of that's complete, the other things you want to know about is class size. Are they following the recommendations that the class has to be less than 25 people, which includes teachers and teachers helpers? and that class is its own unit, that teachers aren't swapping out to give each other breaks, that kids don't swap from one group to another group to provide, stimulation or extra activities or whatever else they might do, but that group that they're with for the whole day, every day, every day of the week, that doesn't change. And ideally, that group stays in one classroom. They don't go somewhere else to eat. They don't go somewhere else for gross play. They can go outside, but they would stay in that one classroom. Also, ideally, the one classroom would have a bathroom to itself. If it doesn't, and there's a shared bathroom, again, the share should be only with the same kids every day of the week, and should be cleaned thoroughly in between uses. So the other piece would be, are the kids going to wear masks? And this is still up in the air. Obviously, there's, I guess it's not up in the air. The decision has been to make it be more lenient, since kids are developmentally at different stages. A lot of kids want to wear masks, though. They see their parents wearing masks, their teachers wearing masks. They know they're doing it to protect other people, and they want to be involved in that. So you can make it fun. You can help them decorate their mask. You can practice wearing it in front of a mirror so they can see what they look like. They can, put the mask on their teddy bear, all sorts of things. You can show them my video about mask wearing, so they can see we're all doing it. So if your daycare is supporting mask wearing for kids, I would definitely try it. The people who absolutely cannot wear a mask, kids under 2, if they can't take the mask off on their own, they shouldn't be wearing it. If they chew on the mask and get it wet, they shouldn't be wearing it. And then if they go outside to play, they should be able to take the masks off. If they're swimming, they should take the masks off. And obviously, if they're sleeping, they should be able to have their masks off. If you have any questions about that, don't hesitate to give me a call or send me a portal message. I can get into a little bit more detail for that. And then, and masks shouldn't have ties for kids because they present a choking and strangulation hazard. All right, so the other question I heard was, what symptoms are we looking for? What symptoms should keep kids out of school? And it's going to be a little different than it was before. So before, maybe you'd give your kids some ibuprofen and send them off to school because you had to go to work. But it's going to be absolutely imperative that families don't do that during this time, that if their child has any illness symptoms, that they stay home. And they absolutely must stay home until they're fever-free for 72 hours without any medication. So no ibuprofen, no Tylenol, nothing on board. They're fever-free for 72 hours. And then all the other symptoms, coughs, runny noses, diarrhea, stomach aches, sore throats, headaches, all of that will keep kids home. So keep them well hydrated so you don't mistake dehydration headaches for an illness headache. Don't do too much fruit and have them have diarrhea from the fruit, and then you won't know. Some fruit is good. The entire pint of strawberries might be too much. And be really honest with yourself and your daycare providers about symptoms so we can keep everybody healthy. So again, 72 hours fever-free. It's usually 24 hours, but because of COVID, it's 72 hours fever-free. A fever is considered anything over 100.4. If you have questions about that, again, give us a call. The kids with allergic rhinitis, so runny noses because of allergies, as long as it's clear runny discharge, not green, not white or gray, but it has to be clear, and they have documented seasonal allergies from a doctor, they can be in daycare. If there's any questions, hopefully daycare providers will be calling us. So the big things, are your providers wearing masks? Are they triaging kids, so asking questions, taking temperatures, and washing hands as soon as they get there? Are they sticking to one group of less than 25 kids and adults? And what are they doing about kids wearing masks? How is that working? What do you need to do to help your child prepare? And then are they making sure families and kids stay home if they have any illness signs and that they're staying home for 72 hours from any fever? And then the last thing would be, for all of us, we should be keeping a contact list. So every day writing down where we went, who we saw. So, if you go to work and it's the same people at work, write down work. But did you go to the grocery store? Did you go to Walmart? Where have you been? So if anybody tests positive, that the contact list can be well traced. Oh, and the other thing for our daycares, we need to be sure that they have an updated emergency contact list. So they need to be able to get a hold of you right away, because if kids show any signs of symptoms, they'll be sent home immediately, and that's to keep everybody else safe. So I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you want any other topics for videos. I'll plan on covering summer camps and swimming and those sorts of things in the upcoming days. But I think we can keep our kids safe. I think childcare and daycare is really important for the social development of our kids as well as the well-being of our families, not just so people can go back to work. And I feel strongly that the Department of Health has done a really good job working with us as pediatricians and the other stakeholders to make sure that daycare and childcare and summer day camps will be as safe as possible. So I hope everybody's well and have a great weekend. Thanks.